Have you ever felt adrift, like you're navigating a vast, silent ocean with no map, no stars, no sign of a guiding hand? You pray, you search, you listen ... but the only answer is an echo of your own voice. It's in these moments of profound silence that a terrifying question can take root in the heart. Have I been abandoned? Before we explore this powerful idea through the eyes of C.S. Lewis, if you find these kinds of questions meaningful, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Like this video and share your initial thoughts in the comments. It helps us create more content just like this. This feeling, this crisis of faith, is a deeply human experience. But what if that silence isn't absence? What if the guide is most present, not when the path is clear, but when we are utterly lost? One of modern history's greatest thinkers on faith, a man who journeyed from staunch atheism to becoming a titan of Christian thought, wrestled with this very paradox. His name was C.S. Lewis, and his life offers a profound insight into the idea that God guides you ... even when it feels like he has left you. Clive Staples Lewis was not a man predisposed to belief. His brilliant mind, honed at Oxford, was a fortress of logic, reason, and materialism. Alongside his friends in the Inklings, a group that included J.R. Tolkien, his ideas were constantly challenged and sharpened. His journey towards faith was not a leap in the dark, but a slow, reluctant checkmate. He described it as a cosmic chess match against an opponent he could not outmaneuver. He was, in his own words, the most dejected and reluctant convert in all England, dragged kicking and screaming into the kingdom of God. This is crucial. Lewis's faith was not a comfortable inheritance. It was a hard-won intellectual conclusion. He didn't offer easy answers because he had none for himself. He famously argued that God is not a tame lion. This idea suggests a God who is good, but not safe, powerful, but not predictable, a God who operates on a scale beyond our comprehension. So why, then, does this powerful God allow so much suffering? In The Problem of Pain, Lewis offers a challenging answer. Pain is God's megaphone to rouse the deaf world. Comfort, he reasoned, allows us to become self-sufficient, to believe in the illusion of our own control. Pain shatters that illusion. It is the chisel that carves us, the fire that tempers us. Furthermore, Lewis saw God as the supreme artist of creation, and an artist will not break the rules of his own masterpiece, the laws of nature, the reality of human free will, just to spare his characters from hardship. The story must be allowed to unfold, with all its tragedy and triumph. The perceived absence of the guide is, in itself, part of the guidance. Nowhere was this brutal theory tested more fiercely than in his own life. For 57 years, Lewis was a confirmed bachelor, living a quiet, academic life. Then, a whirlwind entered his world. Her name was Joy Davidman, an American poet with a razor-sharp intellect, a fierce wit, and a life story full of its own pain and searching. Theirs was a meeting of minds that ambushed them both, blossoming into a love of startling depth and intensity. She filled his dusty home, the Kins, with laughter and debate. She was not just his wife. She was his intellectual equal, his spiritual companion, his best friend. They were blissfully, unexpectedly happy, but their time was brutally short. Joy was diagnosed with an aggressive bone cancer. After a brief, miraculous remission that Lewis saw as a direct, joyous answer to prayer, the disease returned with savage force. Lewis, the great defender of the Christian faith, the man who had explained God to millions, now stormed the heavens with his own desperate, intimate prayers, yet Joy died. The silence he had written about was no longer an academic theory. It was a crushing, deafening, personal reality. The door to heaven was not just shut, it was bolted from the inside. In the depths of his despair, Lewis began to scribble his thoughts in notebooks. This was not the polished apologist. This was a man laid bare, his soul flayed open. These writings would become his masterpiece of pain, a grief observed. His crisis plunged him into a terrifying spiral of doubt. First, he questioned God's very existence. He wrote of the terrifying possibility that no one is there, that his entire life of faith had been a dialogue with a phantom. His prayers felt like letters sent to a dead address. When that initial shock subsided, his despair twisted into a new, more horrifying shape. He began to question God's goodness. He wrote, "The cosmic sadist, the spiteful imbecile." These were the names he hurled into the silence. He wondered if God was a celestial vivisectionist, experimenting with his creature's pain for some unknowable purpose. All his carefully constructed arguments about a loving God felt like empty words in the face of his raw, visceral agony. Finally, he turned his merciless intellect inward, questioning himself. Was his faith merely a comfortable fantasy, a house of cards built in the safety of his study? He feared that he was a man who believed in the sun only when he could see it, and now that night had fallen, his belief had vanished. But Lewis, the relentless thinker, could not abandon the search. He kept writing, kept questioning, kept probing the darkness. And there, in the deepest part of the shadow, a slow, painful dawn began to break. It was not a sudden epiphany, but a gradual turning. He realized that his grief was changing his memory of Joy. He was beginning to remember her not as the vibrant, laughing woman he loved, but as a cancer patient. In his desperation to cling to her, he was losing her. He understood he had to let go of the pain to hold on to the person. From there, a profound realization emerged. The searing pain of his grief was the exact measure of the magnificent love he had been given. The one could not exist without the other. His sorrow was not a punishment from God. It was the price of a priceless gift. To wish away the pain would be to wish away the joy they had shared. His image of God shattered, but something truer took its place. He didn't find the tame lion who would have saved Joy. He rediscovered the wild, mysterious God he had always written about, a God not of comfort, but of reality. A God who doesn't promise to spare us from the valley of the shadow of death, but promises to walk through it with us. C.S. Lewis's journey teaches us that divine guidance is not always a map that shows the way, but a compass that gives us a direction in the darkness. It's not a promise of an easy journey, but the assurance that the journey has a purpose, especially when we can't see it. So, if you find yourself in the silence, in the remember the old professor from Oxford. Remember that the sculptor's hands are guiding the chisel, even when it cuts. The greatest tests of faith are not meant to show us God's absence, but to reveal a depth of his presence we never could have understood in the light. The guide is still there, especially then. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel to support our community. And share your biggest takeaway in the comments below. We read every single one. Thank you for watching.